I'd like for us to talk a minute about stress and anxiety. I've been a pediatrician for a pretty long time, and sadly, for the last decade, the kids in my practice, well, the moms too for that matter, have all been a lot more stressed and anxious than ever before. Now, I think there's some reasons for this. I think that COVID certainly made things a lot worse. It's the first time in a long time that we've had something that really seemed like a threat to our existence, and many people had never been through a situation like that. I think that social media has added to some of the stresses that we see on a daily basis, but regardless of why it's occurring, it definitely is occurring. And in my practice, I see the results of this come out in like headaches, stomach aches, children that are having depression and things like that. I really don't like to use the word stress. I think that stress implies that it's some enemy that we can avoid, and so people spend too much time, I think, trying to avoid stress. In my experience, life is stressful, and so I just refer to it as life. I've also experienced, and there's theories that support this, that there's almost like there's supposed to be a certain amount of stress that just exists in your life. For instance, if you have a big problem and it absorbs and takes up all of your attention, you don't worry about the little stressors, you don't have time for them. And then you get the big stressor taken care of, and all of a sudden those things that were little stressors last week, all of a sudden those things seem big and they take on a much larger role in your life. So let's just assume that we can't avoid stress. And so let's see if there aren't some maybe better ways to approach it. So if the bad ways are headaches and stomach aches and chest pains and those kind of things, are there some less painful ways for the angst to just kind of get out of our system without causing us pain? And I think there are some. I think the most commonly successful method is to sweat it out. Almost anyone can run and sweat and do exercise, games, whatever. And as that salt water comes out of your body, the angst and the stress just seems to ooze out with it. It may be the salt water, because I've noticed that crying seems to let it out too. So those same salt water in your tears will also let the stress out. But in my opinion, perhaps not quite as much fun. Anyone who has a friend that they can talk to about things, you can talk it out and it comes out that way. I'm fortunate to have a buddy that we've been friends since we were kids. We went to medical school together. And every Thursday night from 9 to 11, we walk 5 or 6 miles and solve the problems of the world. And there's no question that that's therapy, in my life. And I look forward to it when I'm having problems. One nice thing, if you ever want to do anything outside in Austin, Thursday nights between 9 and 11 o'clock, it's only rained twice, maybe in the last 30 years. So that's a side note. But anyhow, if you have someone you can talk to, that certainly lets the stress ooze out that way. For those that have religion, prayer is a great way for the stress to come out of your body without causing pain. Yoga and meditation are things that people use that are also very successful. For me, one of the easiest things is water. I love the water, and whenever I get out of the water, it seems like the stress and the angst of the world just kind of oozes out into the water. I have a personal theory that anything that's been popular for 1,000 years, almost all those things are things that let the stress ooze out. I think sitting around a campfire and watching the fire burn, I think that the stress just oozes out into the flames. I think watching waves crash against the shore, I think that the stress just oozes out into those crashing waves. So test my theory, go look and see if anything that you can think of that's been popular for 1,000 years, and I bet it's something that lets the stress ooze out in a less painful way. Ice cream works. It's not my favorite method as a doctor. I personally have had some struggles with ice cream in the past, so it's not my first choice, but it also works. Over and above all these things, better sleep makes everything in the world go better. And so if sometimes it's not the easiest to start with, but I think if you can do these other things and then work towards better sleep, you'll definitely get some rewards from that. So this is where you can help your child. As the mother and father of a child, you know them better than anyone. You can sense which things in their life seem to bring them peace and let the stress and angst of the world ooze out. It's your job to help them find those things. Quit wasting your time trying to get them to avoid stress and start helping them find the things that let the angst ooze out of their body in a less painful way. I hope this will help.